Welcome into another episode of the Flamingo Advantage podcast. I'm your host, Katie Hornor, and really excited to have multiple guests with us on today's show. But first off, let me introduce my good friend. This is a lady who loves to connect today's pioneers with the past. She loves helping people live more sustainably, weathering the dust storms of life with God's divine help. Her podcast is called Real Life on the Prairie because in addition to being a homeschool mom of six, a mama, an artist, an award-winning journalist, she is also a fifth-generation Oklahoma Panhandle homesteader herself. She and I met each other several years ago, back when we were first getting our blog started, and have worked together in various ways since then. So help me welcome to the show today, author of Star Chronicles and editor of the Prairie Dust Trail Magazine, Danita Fogelman.
Hello. I'm so happy to be on here today, Katie. We're incredibly excited about this new thing that we've got going on. I've got my co-hosts with me, or co-conspirators is what I've been calling them. Chrysalyn Vassar is a permaculturist from northeastern Oklahoma, and she and her husband just have some amazing insight into like gardening and things like that, which is a great thing for me because I have a black thumb. So and then we have Myrna Buckles with us, who is actually from southeastern Oklahoma. So we've got all kind of Okies here, but Myrna's kind of been all over the place and is now in Nicaragua helping women start their own businesses and become more sustainable down there. So I'm just really excited about the team that we've got right now.
I love it. I love it. And this is for the magazine, the Prairie Dust Trail Magazine, which is a quarterly magazine, just new this year. And I'm excited to see the different pieces that you have in this because, as we all know, like making a living and making a life takes more than just one topic. And I'm thrilled to see that you're covering lots of different areas with these special expertise. Tell us the short version of how this magazine came to be.
The short version. Well, I thought years ago it would be really neat to put together a magazine. But of course, those doubts come in your mind and you're like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't have enough education. I'm not qualified, all those things. Well, in 2019, God called me into journalism during 2020 and 2021. And it was an amazing experience. And in the process of learning so much during that time, I also learned how to put together a magazine. And it was just kind of, once the Lord released me from that job to come back home and work full-time from home, it was just natural. It was just natural. There are lots of homesteaders out there on YouTube and stuff, and there are some magazines and things that are going on, and they're great. But I've just found that so many of the homesteaders now that are teaching have come from the cities. They're brand new homesteaders themselves. They've maybe been doing it 10 years. And I think that's wonderful. That's awesome. But I keep running into more and more people who are coming out, especially to the prairie, and they don't have the immediate funds and capital to build a big barn and all the neat things. And they end up knee deep in, I don't know what I'm doing. And the online people in the perfect place with all the perfect equipment aren't as helpful as what they thought was going to be. So having hacked it out of the wilderness for generations out here in the panhandle of Oklahoma, which is consistently trying to kill us, I have a unique view on how homesteading needs to happen, and kind of a common sense thing that I didn't even realize I had until I started coaching people. And putting that into a magazine and then putting it in a biblical perspective is something that is unique to what is out there right now.
Yeah, I love the biblical aspect. Obviously, we've got, the Proverbs 31 woman and all these other examples of taking care of your family, of not only today, but also planning for the future and investing and all of those kinds of things. But I'm interested to hear from Myrna, what piece does history play in this? Because you're the history editor of this magazine, and it's got some interesting aspects to it there. Tell us about why history and what does that have to do with the homesteading in this magazine specifically?
History is so important. It teaches us what has worked in the past, what might work now, what may not work at all now, or what we shouldn't even try. If we can look back on history, we have a roadmap for the future. And I think that's exciting. I have a scripture for that, even if I can read that. It's Romans 15:4 from the ESV version. For whatever was written in former days was written for our instructions, that through endurance and the encouragement of the scriptures, we might have hope. And we all need hope when we're going through these learning experiences of homesteading and doing different things.
Yeah, I love that. In our episode that we just did recently around setting up memorials, we're talking about that same idea, that the things that happened in the past are not just to happen and enjoy or experience and forget, but they're to learn from. They're so that we can bring our kids and our grandkids back and say, look what God did. Because knowing what he did in the past instructs our present and gives us hope for the future, just like you were saying. And I love that. What's the thing you're most excited about with this magazine, Myrna?
I think I'm most excited about connecting my roots, my growing up
I think she froze.
to this magazine. I grew up.
Well, let's go to Christy then.
I grew up with parents.
Christy, tell us about your part in the magazine. What is it that you get to do, and how are you excited about
to
that?
connect with that
I
through this
magazine, and I, for the most part, right now, I've been writing about gardening and setting up your homestead, especially with spring being upon us. But like Donita said, I'm a permaculturalist, which basically we look at the design and maintenance of our gardens and our lives in general, but our gardens, and try to make them where they blend in with the natural world around us. And they're really easy to take care of. Like you put in, it's a lot of work putting in the garden at first, and then you just can sit back and watch as nature takes its course, and it takes care of itself mainly. But so just trying.
That's really an interesting point. I'm sorry to interrupt you right there, but that whole idea of design, like for those of us that may be new to gardening, I can't even keep like fake flowers looking pretty, right? So I would be very much a newbie to this, and the idea of having to design a garden, like, is it just to make it look pretty? Are there actually like different plants or things that are supposed to be together or are not supposed to be together?
Yes, you can use it to make it look beautiful, because I've seen some beautiful permaculture designs, but you can also just put it together so it looks more like a meadow that you just walk through. And plants, some plants do better together than others, like cucumbers don't like a lot of plants. But if you put them with okra, they're fine. But to help it just work together, you plant your vegetables with some of your herbs, because the bugs or other pests or even deer will come after your different vegetables, and rabbits will come over after different vegetables. But if you plant herbs like calendula or marigold or wormwood around your different plants, you won't have those pests entering your garden and trying to destroy your crops.
That's so interesting. And I think even in business, we see like there's design, right? There's ways to do things for image, for branding, for aesthetics, but there's also ways to do things practically, like you're talking about. And so learning about the plants and the homesteading is also applicable for those of us that are developing our businesses as well. And I love the way that you've also turned this into a business, Donita. I want to come back to that aspect of this, in that this is not just a unique magazine, in that it's homesteading from a biblical basis. You've got history, you've got plant knowledge in there, but you're also doing this as a way to earn an income. And so talk to us a little bit about the income earning opportunities that come with having a magazine as a business.
Well, like you said, we've been blogging for a long time, and there's so many different aspects of having a website and trying to make your brand work, online. I published the book, I've done affiliate marketing, I've done all the different things, done courses and email things. And what it all comes back down to is we're always trying to help people, right? And it depends on what people are receiving at the time. Through the years, some people just really wanted to do the blog. Some people wanted membership sites. Some people have wanted courses. Some people have wanted live workshops. It changes through time, depending on what is going on in the world and how people are receiving the information. Right now, I am seeing a real trend to people wanting to go back to an old-fashioned way. I made a course on old-fashioned letter writing, and which was fairly popular. And people just really want to get back to that. People are sending more cards in the mail and things like that. And while I would love to have a print magazine, right now, that's not in the budget yet. But having a digital magazine is kind of the best of both worlds. Because you have that. I mean, I miss it. I miss the mail, and I think we're kind of there. And especially after all the digital 2020 stuff, everybody went digital. We had to. We learned Zoom. We learned all these things. And I think we got tired of it. And we were wanting some real world. And a magazine kind of gives us that. And then you have in one volume so many different topics. I mean, we had some political stuff because, if you're biblically based, you're not afraid of politics. The Bible's full of politics. So we've got some political stuff in there. I like to throw some fun tin hat things in there because that's just one of my things. Touch on the conspiracy theorist stuff. We've got the gardening. We've got some homemaking. And the last one, we had how to bless your children, which we think is a big part of it. You're not only cultivating that garden and cultivating that homestead, you're also cultivating your family in the process. So while it's wonderful to be able to make money off of something I enjoy doing, that's exceptional. The whole purpose is to help people. And so, the marketing becomes easier in that way whenever we're thinking, I'm helping people with this, and this is how this is going to help you. And then it's natural for them to come in and subscribe and buy it and keep the lights on.
Yeah. And for those of you listening, if you're wondering what we're talking about, just jumping in right here in the middle, the Prairie Dust Trail Magazine over at prairiedusttrail.com is where you want to go to pick that up. Homesteading, raising children, how to plant a beautiful garden and a practical one, history, and how to not repeat the bad parts of history, and even the fun and quirky stuff, right? And I love that this is something that you have said, this is a way that we can offer help, offer value, and be able to earn from. And I love that you're also collaborating. You've got multiple editors working in this. You've got some of your children involved, but you're also bringing in sponsors and advertisers from outside as a way to earn income. And I just think that is a great way for partnership to be able to grow and spread the word as well. Tell us a little bit about the sponsorship things.
Oh my goodness. Well, one of the things that I learned at the newspaper is you cannot publish without sponsors. You can't. You have to have those advertisers. And this is an excellent opportunity because I've kept my advertising really low because I want it open for those little soap makers on Etsy and the homemade dresses and I've just got a real heart for the mom at home who's trying to stay home and budget, but still trying to bring in the extra income. And then for those dads who are wanting to stay closer to home and maybe doing woodworking projects and different things like that. So I want it accessible for them. We've got the big full page ad, if somebody wants it, but I've got some small ads. And that first magazine, the theme was an echo from the past. And it was full of just small 8th page ads that weren't very much money. But of course it adds up to be able to help us publish this. And it gives that highlight to those smaller businesses that some people might not be hearing about. Because no matter how much you put yourself out on social media, as we all know, we're at the algorithms lead the way. So something like this, you're going to meet a specific audience. So
yeah, I love that. And I think that for those of you listening with smaller businesses, think about things like this as a way to not only leverage your uniqueness by aligning with a unique publication in your niche, right? Maybe you're not in homesteading and homemaking, but maybe there's another niche. One of my other clients I know writes for a tiny house magazine on a regular basis, right? Like look for the things that are in your niche that serve your people where you can align with other people and create those partnerships and strategic relationships.
And stretch yourself beyond too, not just in the niche, stretch yourself beyond. We did have an organizer in there. We had the essential oils. We had quite a variety of advertising. Go ahead and stretch yourself beyond that because just because somebody's homesteading doesn't mean that's how their income is going to come in. My husband's an electrician. He's an electrical contractor, and that helps support our homestead. I've seen women who have done video courses, just all kinds of things in order to help support their homestead. So yeah, stretch beyond that. And of course, I always encourage people to do press releases about your new businesses, your books that you've written, all this kinds of stuff. Send out those press releases to those newspapers, those magazines, all those places. Let them know what you've got, because you never know what audience is going to say, hey, I need that.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you guys so much for sharing today. I love the different aspects of this, the out of the box way that you're going about it and thinking about it and creating partnerships here. Anything else that you'd like to leave our folks with today as we end up this episode?
Well, the next magazine is going to be Fostering Community. That's the theme. We're really excited about some of the contributors that are already starting to send things in. It's going to be, the last one was more full than I ever thought it would be. And this isn't just for homesteaders. This is for anybody who really wants to become more prepared in the world that we're living with and try to live more sustainably where you are. So even if it's just a kitchen window garden or a balcony garden, or just the little things that you can do to start living more sustainably in your life, this magazine, I think you're going to get a lot out of it.
Love it. Again, prairiedusttrail.com if you're interested in the magazine, either as a reader or as someone who wants to partner with them and get the word out about what you have to bring to the world, because your message matters. God created you unique on purpose to be able to reach those people who need you. And we're excited to help you get that out there. We can't wait to see you in the next episode. If you found this valuable, share it with someone who might also enjoy it, and we'll see you soon.